Today we are going to be looking at secular music in the Middle Ages. The secular music during the Middle Ages reflected medieval society from the period around 800 to 1300 AD. While Gregorian chant still dominated, only sacred music was notated. At the same time, much music was produced outside of the church. During the 12th and 13th centuries, the French nobles cultivated the music of what was known as the troubadours, or the trouvères, in northern France, who were poet-composers. In German lands, they were known as the Minnesänger. These Minnesänger were knightly poet-musicians, and in Italy they were known as the Laudae. Their songs dealt with topics such as love, the Crusades, dance songs, and spinning songs. Spinning songs would have accompanied their daily labor at the spinning wheel. In southern France, there was also a woman troubadour whose name was Beatrice de Dia. The notation of these songs does not indicate rhythm, but it is thought that they would have been sung with a regular meter and beat, unlike Gregorian chant, which had no truly defined meter and used to float in a spiritual sense, whereas these songs had a good beat, it is believed, although there is no surviving notation of these songs, but it is thought likely that they would have been sung with a regular meter. During the Middle Ages, there was also what was known as the jongleurs, the wandering minstrels, and these jongleurs doubled as acrobats and jugglers. They played harps, fiddles, and lutes, and were in fact an important part of the medieval society in which they lived, particularly in France. There were processions accompanied by these jongleurs. Most medieval songs were performed by the troubadours or the troubadours and were strophic in form. A strophic means that there was the same music for each stanza or verse. Now, in terms of the phrases which make up these stanzas, they were often set in the form of A-A-B, which means that the first two phrases repeated the same music, A, but to different words, and were offset by different music, contrasted music, labeled B. So it was an A-A-B form within a strophic form. Now these works usually had a limited melodic range, and the melody often moved by step. Dancing in the Middle Ages was accompanied by songs or instrumental music, which was not usually written down but performed from memory. They had a strong oral tradition, which is perhaps why so few of these notated songs actually survive to this day. Of the surviving medieval instrumental dances, the most common form was known as the estampie. The estampie has several sections, and each is played twice with two different endings. Now, the example we can hear in the background was a lovely estampie called Danse Royale, which dates from the 13th century. It is one of the earliest surviving pieces of instrumental music from this period. Like all French estampies, it is in triple meter. It is also monophonic, which we know means it consists of a single voice. However, some modern recordings tend to add in some sort of instrumental accompaniment, such as the shawm, which was a bit like a modern oboe. It was a precursor to our double reed oboe. Or rather, it was a double reed precursor to our oboe, which, as we know, has a single reed. And medieval drums, which were known as the tabors. Other common instruments of the genre were the vielle, which was a medieval bowed instrument, a precursor to our modern violin. They also had something quite unusual called the hurdy-gurdy. This was a three-stringed vielle, which was sounded by rotating a wheel inside the instrument turned by a crank. So to conclude, the songs of the troubadours lived on sometimes for a few decades, and many were preserved in writing. However, eventually most of these songs succumbed to the fate of the society of which they formed a part. They didn't survive indefinitely. The same fate met their dance melodies. However, in the 19th century, there was a renewed interest in the Middle Ages. Medieval songs were published in the late 19th century and also during the 20th century. And recent decades have seen a revival of medieval secular songs and instrumental dances in concerts and recordings. As mentioned, an estampie has a unique form. It has several sections, each played twice, with two different endings. The first with an open, or ouvert in French, or incomplete cadence, and the second with a closed, or close in Old French, or full cadence. Let us listen to a recording of another estampie called Royal Estampie number 4. This recording indicates where the open and closed cadences are. Here you can hear the first section with an incomplete cadence. Here you can hear the first section with a full cadence.